Why don't we get started? The way we can get started is I can ask, not everybody here, but a few people here, what drew them to this presentation tonight. My name is Ken Kaplan. I was here before. Who was here at the Dream thing? Can you raise your hands? A few. I did a presentation on dreams. We had a nice turnout there. Thank you for coming. It's a cold night. Mark asked me back, and he was interested in angels. And it seems like there was a lot of people. We had 37 signups, but I think the cold night kept some people away. Before I share about my experiences, I'd like to ask some people, what brought you out tonight? What is your interest? I'm gonna do a little survey in a second, but maybe just ask a few people, why did you come? What drew you here tonight?
Why did I come tonight? Because my daughter asked me, and it is interesting. I want to find out a little more on that.
Okay. Why did you come? Since you dragged her along.
I'm fascinated by the spiritual realm.
Okay. Who else? Why did you come tonight?
I've done a lot of reading on Edgar Casey material.
Okay, really great
And
guy.
he had some angels appear from time to time.
Uh-huh.
And so,
See one of them. Are people familiar with that name, Edgar Casey? Edgar Casey was one of America's greatest psychics. Although he technically wasn't a psychic, he was actually a channel. Let me quickly give the difference between them. When someone is highly intuitive, there's three ways that intuition can show up. One is to be a psychic. A psychic is someone who reads other people. So they pick up things about you. A medium is someone who connects with those who've crossed over. A channel is someone who allows wisdom and energy from the higher realms to move through them, and they become a conduit for that. What Casey would do, he was called America's greatest psychic, but in reality, he was a channel. He would lie down and go to sleep. It's called the sleeping prophet. And when he lay down to sleep, another energy would move through him that had the kind of wisdom that no one could fathom. His secretary was very diligent in cataloging all his physical cures. And his diagnoses were like 99% correct, over 2,000 cases. First one he ever did, according to legend, is he laid down and had never done this before. Someone was sick and came there, and he said, it's in the solution to this problem is at a pharmacy 50 miles away, and you got to call them. So the pharmacist calls back and says, I can't find it, and Casey says, it's behind the blue bottle. And they found it, and it worked. So that's how precise his readings could be. Reincarnation eventually showed up in his readings. He himself was an evangelical Christian and had trouble reconciling for a long time the information that came through when he was sleeping versus what he believed. Eventually he moved over to the side of accepting. But also, whatever information was coming through started to relate to the past lives as to how that was influencing the illnesses and behaviors in the present day, which was very interesting. So that's Edgar Casey. Very famous, a lot of books about him. You might want to read Edgar Casey on reincarnation, written by his son. Really good book. Really a good introductory book on reincarnation with a lot of case histories and stuff. I think you raised your hand in the back.
I did.
Yeah. So what brought you up tonight?
I just learned 2 days ago that myself and a friend of mine got accepted at the International Association for the Study of Dreams to present, actually in the Netherlands.
Are you going to present?
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Gail Delaney. She told me I should go and do that, but I said I don't have the money to do it. So
It's a little bit pricey, yeah. It's over.
There's some good things to present on. What are you presenting on?
We're going to do how the sleep state and sleep and dream state impacts empathy and societal justice in the real world.
Well, say conventional world, not the real world. Because,
Conventional world?
well, I would say that because what's real?
There you go.
So, when we say the real world, all these realms are actually real. It's just, so I like to say the conventional world.
Well, they were in Scottsdale last time, and they go back and forth, not overseas all the time, but or East Coast, West Coast.
I have some cool things that I could present there. It's
Yeah.
just that you have to pay your own way and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I know that's kind of good for you. That's excellent. What drew you here tonight?
My friend
Okay.
mentioned angels, and I told her, even though I'm not even really convinced about dreams and angels, I am all about wanting all of those things to help people focus, and if they focused more on that, we wouldn't trouble we're in right now.
That's true.
Oh, thank you.
Although I'd like to point out to people that maybe we're right where we need to be because it's a different topic.
Okay.
What brought you out tonight since you brought your friend along?
Oh, I don't know, I spoke to a friend recently and she said something about this one book about angels and I thought, interesting. And then I saw this was coming, I thought, what the heck?
Well, to say you may have been guided here.
Check it out.
We'll see if that's true or not. One or two more. What brought you out?
So much in the scriptures is so much about angels.
Uh-huh.
So I got believe. I believe.
Hey, what?
I do believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And what brought you out?
I've just been trying to connect more and more with spirits to get messages to help me through my daily life.
Mhm.
And I'm just learning, and I think this will help me even further.
Okay, and what brought you out tonight?
Just like to learn more about angels because I've been watching, or I did watch Ancient Aliens on TV,
Mhm.
and they did talk a lot about angels
Mhm.
and all that. Yeah. It was interesting.
Interesting. I do have to share a little bit of what tonight will not be about. And I don't want to disappoint you. But I don't have expertise in biblical history and kind of cultural, archaeological history of angels, and it's not my focal point. So if you came out looking for that, it's not going to be here. Although I do understand that angels play a prominent role, mostly in Western religions. What's interesting is that in Hinduism and in Buddhism, you don't have any angels. In Hinduism, you have a lot of deities who play the role that angels play in Western religions. So if Ganesh is considered to be the overcomer of obstacles, that might play the role of an angel in Western society. Secondly, we're probably not going to get into the idea of like, okay, what's the organizational structure of the angel hierarchy? I don't have much expertise in that. And to be honest, I don't care. And I don't think the angels care that much either. What we're going to talk about is our experience with angels in an experiential way, a practical way, as to what's going on. What is the modern sense of what angels are, and how does that differ from maybe what has gone down through history, and how does that practically impact our lives in terms of the accessibility of connection to the angelic realm and to the divinity in and of itself. What I'd like to do is to propose that I'd like this to be very interactive. Anytime I'm speaking, I want this to be a lot of sharing. So you have a question or you have a comment. And what I'd like is immediately, if you feel the need, you can raise your hand and we'll deal with it right there. I don't want this to be a big lecture thing. There are things I think that I have some perspectives on that are going to be helpful for people because I'm good at communicating those things. But a lot of you probably have had some similar experiences that I've had. So if you feel the need to say that doesn't make sense, or what's that about, we can do that. Or if you say, well, wait a minute, I had something like that happen to me, we'll do that as well. And you can do that right away. I want to do a little survey really quickly. Raise your hand if you feel that you've had in your life an encounter with angelic energy. Okay, so about 5 or 6.
Question.
Okay.
Is that different than spirit? Like
Well,
someone who's-
I would say spirit, like higher realm spiritual energy. So whether it's angelic or master or spirit guide or whatever. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay, well, you say it that way.
Okay. Yeah, so the angels are a subdivision of the whole thing. That's why I drew this on the board. Since we're dealing with angels, but in reality, spirit guides and kind of like ascended masters that fit into the category of helpers from the other side. So for instance, for a Christian, Jesus or Mary, or if you're Catholic, or the Holy Spirit, the sense of the Holy Spirit would be a sense of an ascended helper from the other side. Okay, raise your hand if you have had some form of communication with or from an angelic or spirit guide or higher form of energy from the other side. Again, we've had about, okay,
I
good.
have a question about that.
Sure.
Does that mean a person we may have known who's no longer here, or?
Yeah, deceased loved ones could, it's not as much, but still could fit into the category.
You would raise your hand for that?
Yeah, okay. But more I'm thinking in terms of actual helpers from the other side whose job it is to help guide human beings. So you'd have a spirit guide, you'd have a master, there's a few other categories. Raise your hand if you have ongoing communication with either the angelic realm, spirit realm, whatever. Raise your hand for that.
When you say communication, do you mean?
Did you get messages? Did you get a
sense
sense?
of their presence? or
Yeah, you might feel
protection,
presence.
or-
Yeah, okay. So, okay, so we have a few. Okay. What I'd like to do, hopefully by the end of the night, is that number will potentially, by the time you spend a couple months with the idea of all this, expand, and that everybody here starts to have experiences with the angelic realm and your guides and everything else, as opposed to it being an abstract notion. And that's primarily we're here because I labeled this the extraordinary as ordinary. And how that came to me was I was actually in a group, and a friend of mine was kind of doing this channeling piece, and all of a sudden this thought form came to me really powerfully that said, make the extraordinary ordinary. That what's going on in the unseen is that we have left the time of bowing down. That's not what, in my experience, the other side of divinity wants anymore. We've been through that period of looking in awe upward. The idea now is that angels are accessible, they're relational, they want intimacy, friendship, they are companions, they are helpers, and they don't see themselves as above us. That's very counterintuitive to what we've seen from traditional religious history. But what I'm sharing tonight, you have to decide for yourself whether it's true for you. I can only share my experiences with you, and you all can share some of your experiences with the group. The way it all started for me, my spiritual life really began, well, I was a child of the 60s. So in 1967, all this stuff was happening, and that's when I started to get connected. For me, in 1971, I got moved, in my opinion, by the universe to be with a guru who was from India. He never left India, but what a guru is not the particular physical form. The divine expresses itself extremely powerfully through that physical form. And so I spent 20 years with him as a mentor and a guide. He was in my dreams, talk about dreams. I had nuclear dreams with this guru. So that the love of the divine, the power of love and the joy of the divine was coming to me in literally dozens and dozens and dozens of these dreams that I would wake up in ecstatic bliss. And that was like this download into me of what's called transmission. It's a technical word in Hinduism called diksha, which means transmission of divine energy through the agency, usually of a teacher. And I was getting it in dreams. But the interesting thing was that he never once mentioned angels. It's not part of Hindu culture. He didn't mention much of anything. He was only talking about God or what God wanted. Obviously, if we're talking about angels, we have to posit a source. Because there are religions in the world, like Buddhism doesn't believe that there's a central organizing intelligence. Maybe you didn't know that about Buddhism. Buddhism is I won't say atheistic because it believes in transcendence, but it's non-theistic. It does not believe, certain forms of Buddhism, in particular Tibetan Buddhism, does not believe that there is a central organizing intelligence to this place. Doesn't work for me. I tell my Buddhist friend, they have this thing called auspicious coincidences. I said, yeah. I said, there's a thing, I said, I can't believe there's this thing called grace, and it follows me around all the time. But the idea is that, generally speaking, if you're going to believe in angels, generally you believe there's a generating source, which we call God. Or we might call it higher power, or spirit, or higher self, or whatever words are comfortable for us to use. So my guru died in 1990, and I spent a couple of years, and then I was drawn toward channeling as a major form of where I would reside, and where I still reside, mostly in receiving divine contact. Channeling is a really astonishing phenomenon if you're open to it, because the energy that people generate of the presence of divine power is off the charts. It's just off the charts. I would say about 30 years ago that the West in particular, there was an angel wave that rolled through. That's when this book came out. This is a very important book. I have it written down for you there. And it's on Amazon for about a penny, you know, like, it's not that, maybe not, it might be more expensive, there might be that many of them. But I would say if you had to get one book as an introduction, this would be it, Ask Your Angels. And this was written by one of the guys who was part of this book here. Angel Answers, it's a very interesting book about, it's a channel book from Angelic Presence. I'll read a little bit from it. Let me see when this was, it should have been like 91 or something, let me see. 1992, it's copyright. So this is about the time that really the first wave of dealing with angels really started to percolate through society. I got involved with the New Age church at that time, 1993, and people were conversing with a lot of angel stories at that time of encounters with angels, seeing. Some people are very highly intuitive, could see angels, if they're clairvoyant. Don't feel bad if you don't see. There's 3 ways of taking in spiritual energy. One is seeing, that's clairvoyant. One is hearing, is clairaudient. One is feeling, which is clairsentient. It took me a long time to understand that I am really clairsentient to the nth degree. I'm so incredibly sensitive to energy. So I feel, but I don't see. I rarely see. So there's no one right way to perceive. And if you get yourself hung up in like, oh, I got to do it this way, I got to do it that way, you're going to run into problems. You got to do the way that is the way you're wired. You have to kind of learn about that. So my teacher had died in 1990, and I got into this channeling, and the woman who was one of the foremost channels at the time in our area, worked with her for quite a while. It was quite a profound experience. And then I got involved with this church, and they were very New Age. And about this woman, I got there in 1993. About 1997, a woman who had started coming to the church was very, very involved with angels. And one day she stood in the doorway of the church and said, "The angels have been waiting for you for a long time." Oh, really? So obviously she was really tuned in. And what happened was, that was my introduction. Because it was through her name was Karen Simpson. She runs courses. And what I took, I never took the full IET, but I did take a course called The Healing Angels of the Energy Field. And this was my introduction to angels. And there are a lot of systems of angels that people have come up with. Who has heard the name Doreen Virtue? A few people. You might write that down. I didn't write it down for you. Doreen Virtue is strange. She did so much angel work, and then she got out of it. But her work still has value, so you might. So, for instance, I think this is her card deck. She did about 20 of these decks. There's all these oracle decks. This is one of her first decks. This is a Healing with the Angels oracle cards. And these are very interesting when you pick them up and you shuffle them and you pick out a card, or you do a spread. There are all kinds of, there's thousands of these. People come up with that. This is one that isn't hers, it's someone else's. It's called Ask Your Guides. I have about 5 or 6 of these decks. I know people have 40, 50 of these decks at home. You can pick whatever one you feel blessed with. So what you have here is a sheet, because this is my system that I have worked with, although I've worked with other angels that are not part of this group. But this guy, Stephen Thayer, had this angel come to him. It's the one on the front of the book. Her name's Archangel Ariel. And this is a drawing of a clairvoyant, of kind of an issue. One of the things I want to say about angels is, I don't think angels in the end are individual the way we are. But I'll get into this in a second. But they present themselves that way. But they're more than that, and I'll explain that in a second. So this is an Angel Ariel book. She's the head of the team. It's a team of 9 angels who were sent to help humanity. And it came through a man named Stephen Thayer, where he started a foundation called the Center for the Center of Being. And he developed a healing modality called integrated energy therapy. Is anybody here familiar with Reiki? Raise your hand. Okay, so this is good. A lot of people are familiar with Reiki, which is an energy healing modality brought to the West probably about 50 or 60 years ago. It was discovered by a Japanese man named Usui. And it's really quite astonishing that anybody we all have this capacity to channel this energy that's not physical. It's called prana in Hinduism, or India. It's called chi in Japan, or sort of like Aikido, Tai Chi. These are all forms of moving chi, or moving the primal life force. So there's something more in the air than just physical. There's literally, so if I put my hands on somebody, they'll heat up and energy will flow through. So IET is a form of energy healing using angels. And what happens is these angels are all connected to various parts of the body. So for instance, right here, everybody has what's called an energy system called the chakras. Who's familiar? Raise your hand if you're familiar with the chakras. A lot of people are. Human beings are implanted in the physical form, according to this tradition, which is thousands of years old, with 7 energy centers that govern various aspects of our human development. So if we start at the bottom, the first chakra governs survival, stability. It's red. The second chakra is here, governs feelings, creativity. It's orange, and relationships. Here it's yellow. It gets the solar plexus. It governs will and intellect and intelligence. Here it's green. It's the heart. Governs love and compassion. Here in the throat, the 5th is blue. Governs communication and speaking your truth. Here it's the 6th. It is indigo. It governs the third eye, and it covers spiritual sight. And here's the 7th 1,000-petal lotus. It is brilliantly violet, and it is all about connection to the divine. There are others that go beyond the physical, and the 8th from this system governs that you have a soul mission that is already in place. It's typical of a whole other workshop called a soul contract that you have, before you came in, you have a kind of, you've encoded what you wanted to achieve, what you wanted to learn, what you want to experience here. It's all encoded here. Angel Ariel governs that. So if you want to connect with your soul mission, you would meditate with Angel Ariel. She also governs the 1st, which is to ground that mission here on earth. Angel Raphael governs this connection to the divine. And helps you clear the illusion of separation. These all tell like the energy bodies being cleared as guilt, empowerment energy being imprinted as innocence. Gabriel is here, divine direction and trust. Angel Celestina is bringing your gift to the world, creativity. Angel Faith deals with freedom and shoulds. Angel Cassiel deals with the heart and unconditional love and giving wounds of the heart and betrayal. Angel Daniel is over here, deals with forgiveness and judgment. Angel Sarah is here and deals with manifestation and helping to move you into your life's journey. And then Angel Michael is down here and governs protection and overcoming fear. It's interesting that the 4 archangels of the Bible, well, I think Uriel is considered one, but I think Ariel is really Uriel. Because in the Bible, it never says what Uriel does. We know what Raphael does, we know what Gabriel does, and we know what Michael does. But so the 4 archangels of biblical history are on this team. Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Ariel, in my opinion. So from that point of view, you know, we have a lot of congruence here that humans are tapping into something. So basically when I got involved with this, I started having a lot of miraculous experiences, particularly with Angel Sarah, who was really helping me a whole lot with my career. And it was amazing the way things would be put in place and like things would show up, because that's kind of Angel Sarah's thing. So that was my first introduction to angels, is working with the healing angels. Which I still work with them. Don't work with them enough. It's good remembrance. To like, you know, get back to some things that are important. Because they said to me once, if you work with us a lot, you'd move a lot faster and clear your stuff. And I've been lazy. We all have our resistances. But I was working with Raphael just before I came in there. Helped me a great deal. So, as I've gone along through the years, I've come to learn more about there are other angels as well that come into the picture. We each have a guardian angel. Most people here have an angelic team. So you have more, you probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 20 direct guides that are working with you. You know, it's not like we all have just one. At this point, the angels are ganging up, and there's a lot of what's called unemployed angels. We're looking for want people to ask more, and humanity's not asking enough, and they want to help more. So they'll come aboard if you ask. One of the angels that is really powerful for me is the angel Metatron. And he's an amazing angel to work with. You can go on the web and look up angels, but Metatron's pretty amazing because Metatron tends to carry the full expression of the divine presence of God. So when you work with Metatron, you're dealing more directly with God's energy. And it's quite amazing to meditate with Metatron. So, what I began to experience in working with the angels is they were very immediate, and they were very, very, there was no formality in the relationship that was going on. And I've worked with a lot of people. I'm up in the Doylestown area. It's a very, very fertile ground for spirituality. And a lot of the information that came through started to share kind of what is going on between humans and the angelic realm. And the first thing, I drew this little thing here. To kind of give an idea, I'm only using this because it's useful. This is not the way it really is, but it's like it's useful. So let's draw a little wall here, doing green, just so we have another color. So I'm doing this just to be useful, to give us the kind of idea that our human intellects can understand. So we have source, and source is one. It's everywhere, and it's everything. But what source has done is it's kind of begun to downstep itself in creation. So we might see the source as the white light. Well, white contains all colors in it. So source energy comes down, and then let's imagine, you know what a prism is, right?
Yeah.
So light comes to a prism that breaks into colors. The rainbow is a prism created by raindrops and light coming through raindrops, okay? This is the angelic realm, this is the human realm. So let's imagine that, okay, the prism goes through here and splits into various bazillion things. But each of these things carries with it properties. So, the angels are one with God. In other words, there's no separation going on there. And so, Michael carries the attribute of protection. Raphael carries the attribute of connection to God and healing. Traditionally, Raphael has been about healing. But in a channeling here in the book, Raphael says it's a little bit disingenuous to think that I'm about healing. The reason I'm about healing is because when you unify with God, that's when you get healed. So he said I'm a conduit to get unified again, and then healing will take place. So it's a little bit of a misunderstanding. So according to this book, he was correcting that. His color is usually green, it's depicted with a staff. Gabriel is usually clarity and direction. And so you have angels like there's an angel called Shamuel. It's like St. Anthony and like the saints in Catholicism. You know, it's like if you lose something, you pray to Shamuel to find something, and I swear to God, it works really well. I asked Shamuel, stuff I hadn't found in like 3 weeks, all of a sudden it shows up. It's like all of a sudden, bang, the hand goes on. It's like, whoa. So that's why Doreen Virtue is good, because she's another system which incorporates more angels. And it's good to reach out and to figure out there's more angels around and they do different things. So what's good about spirituality is it helps us to experientially connect with divinity, with the unseen, with the heart of ourselves in ways beyond just believing in something because we read it in a source or a text, because a minister or a teacher told us so. Spirituality is about experiencing something. Years ago, the Inquirer was running a section on why do you believe in God. The religious editor was saying they had 2 weeks, they had 2 spreads. And it was this much of the paper, and it was filled with people. So I talked to the religion editor, and I said, I think I have something that might be interesting you. And I told him about it. He said, I would like to hear that, and we will run it. So it was only like this much on a whole page. But what I said is faith based on experience. And what I said was, the question is not whether you believe in God. The question is, have you experienced God? I said, it's not bad. It's always good to have belief. But if your belief is based on your experience, it's much more powerful than if you're basically believing what someone else has told you or reading from another source. So, from this point of view, my connections have been based on my experience with the angels. And kind of what they shared was, now over here, with us, this individuation in the prison goes down into form. Form is a very unique experience in the cosmos. You know, it's not everywhere. I mean, the angelic realm is not concerned with form. It's subtle form. So it's light and much finer vibration, but form is a pretty intense experience. And what I learned from the angels was that they don't see themselves as above humanity. They see themselves as the same as. It's just that they're doing a different function. Therefore, they would say, you are one with God already too, you just forgot. That's why this word remembering Him. The angels remember who they are. We have forgotten. But it doesn't change intrinsically what you are. A lion can be raised by sheep, but it will always be a lion. It may behave like a sheep for a while, or you see animals, you know, whatever, but the bottom line is you cannot change who and what you are. What I've learned is, at least from, this is something I have perceived, you can take it for what you will. Two things, and I drew this over here. This is the way angels appear to us, it's like us. You know, we see them, they look like us, but I don't think that's what they really are. I don't think Archangel Michael, millions of people can connect to Archangel Michael at one time. It doesn't mean Archangel Michael was running around like the Flash and, you know, connecting with people. That's not the way it works. The Archangel Michael energy is an energy band of God that is particularly focused on protection and has within it, as divinity as God does, or what we call Source does, its own self-contained awareness and intelligence. Therefore, ultimately it's this, appearing as this, but knowing that it's both this and this. So, I think my sense of what angels can do is they can appear like us and give us advice and guidance. So we'll see that Archangel Michael's with me, he's in the room, I can see as he looks like this, da, 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 da. But then all of a sudden, how can he be with everybody else in the world if he's only with you? It's because there's something mysterious going on. I think people are the same with people like Jesus or Mary in the same way. If they're praying to Jesus, if 100 million people are praying to Jesus, well, he can be with everybody at once. Well, how's that possible? Because if you've merged and you become, more of this without a body, then you can be everywhere at once. You're not limited. So, to me, the angels are not limited. We're limited. We have to walk around. If I want to see you, I've got to walk over to you and talk. It'd be nice now if I could bilocate, it would be another thing. Some masters can do that, but I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'll be in the slide. It's getting late. So one of the things I found about the angels is that I really believe that the angels can do one of two things. They can come out and appear. You know, when you see science fiction movies and you see like this thing, and all of a sudden the form will come out of this amorphous thing, and then it'll go back into it. I think the angels are like that. I think that in reality, the angels can do one or two. They can appear for the sake of helping, because they're like the hands of God. We're like the feet of God. They're like the hands of God. So like, they can come out and do their thing, but they can remember in an instant who they really are. I'm God. I know I'm playing this function, but who am I really? I don't think the angels have issues about that. We have issues about that. Okay? But that's part of what our trip's about. So, what I have gotten from the angels is they are in awe of us. Now, we think it should be the other way around, and there's nothing wrong with being in awe of our divine friends. A friend of mine who's a really wonderful psychic and channel could like to call all the people from the other side, all the beings from the other side are unseen friends. We have seen friends and we have unseen friends. And basically, It's right to have awe for the beauty of connecting to these presences that carry this incredibly high vibration, that really lift you up amazingly, and they're here to help us, and to feel blessed to have that connection. But conversely, they feel awe for what we go through down here. It's like, I can't believe you're doing that. You know, like this is, how do you, it's such a challenging experience, you know, that you volunteered to come down here, and you're like, it's like, a friend of mine is a spirit guide, one of the best spirit guides in the area, said the angels have used these words, that human beings are phenomenal survivors. Human beings are phenomenal survivors. It blows their mind, the spirit, the power of the spirit of humanity. That, I mean, I remember one day I was downtown in Centers. I see this a lot, but this struck me this one day. I'm watching this guy, and he's crossing the street, but he's in a wheelchair. And he can't walk, I don't think he had legs. And he's going like this, and he's moving along, and he's trucking and everything, and I'm going like, it's amazing to me what human beings will do to thrive in spite of difficulties and challenges and even atrocities. And they're blown away by this. So my primary experience with the angelic realm is, as much as they represent the fullness of what we could achieve in terms of divine power, that they want the relationship with us to be one of closeness, to be one of intimacy, to be one of friendship, to be one of relationship, but without formality. They are not, my experience is, they're not interested in formality. Formality gets in the way of intimacy. So the more that we get involved with the angelic realm, or spirit guides, or masters, or whatever, the more they become friends. Friends of remarkable blessing to have in our lives, and great gratitude to have them in our lives, but at the same time, friends. And therefore, if you have a friend and you need to call him a friend, you don't have any, no, you don't have to bother them or something. You don't have any of that. It's the same way with the angels. And I think one of the things they've said more than one time is that they would like us to call them a lot more often, that they're readily available. I do a workshop called Connecting to Your Guides. That's your spirit guides. When I connect to my guides, a couple things are interesting. The message I've got all the time is connect more, connect more, connect more, ask more, ask more, ask more. It's not important that we know the names of our guides. People say, well, I want to know the name of my guide. What's the name of my guide? You know? And I say, they don't care. They care more in the function of the relationship. I mean, they might reveal a name. What good is a name? Okay, my guy's name is Seraph. What do I do with that? Seraph. You know, what I've learned is, at least it's my experience, is they don't care. Now, you're going to find out at certain points, because there's like, I'll give you an example. One of my guides is Padre Pio. How many people know about Padre Pio? Okay. And I was born Jewish, so like, how did I get involved with the Catholics? Well, what? A friend of mine is a really good medium. She's one of the best mediums in the whole area. I helped her do her first gallery reading ever. Now she's got a 2-year waiting list. Like Teresa Caputo, the Long Island. This is another Teresa. Her name's Teresa Robo. Well, she got very involved with Padre Pio, and one day she was giving a lecture. She passed around a little thing that actually had Padre Pio's blood on it. Because he had the stigmata. He had to wear gloves. The church forced him to wear gloves. So he's got this picture, this thing where she's passing around. I get this picture and this incredible energy, waves of energy, start coming out of this picture. So I went up to his, so I connected to him, and like, he's got there's a center for Padre Pio up in Bartow, PA. Yeah. I recommend you go there sometime. It's incredibly powerful. So the woman who ran the place said, one of the women who ran the place said to me, if you get Padre Pio's blessing, you will smell roses or cigar smoke. Because he used to smoke cigars. So I was in the room. It's a very powerful room where they show the video of when he was on Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah, what's his name, Robert Stack was doing the whole thing with, he was part of Unsolved Mysteries about how her daughter was born without, I think, a spleen or an intestine. And she went to Italy and Padre Pio healed her and it started growing. The doctors couldn't believe it, they had no explanation. So she built a shrine to Padre Pio. So I'm there and all of a sudden this smell of roses overwhelms me. It comes like a wave. And I was stunned and I said, who put rose scent in the vent? Because it was so powerful. Well, and then another wave came. And now, who's surprised? I thought someone, literally, because it was so powerful. I mean, I thought it'd be very mild or something. It came over me like 5 times.
Wow.
This wave of roses. I mean, a powerful, powerful rose scent. So, I know that Padre Pio is one of my guides. When I pray to him and when I do this link, which we're going to do, what's called a heart link, there's a lot of healing energy that comes through. It's pretty amazing. So I think there is something to the Catholic Church in the issue of saints. It's interesting how different religions have different stand-ins for conduits for God. So in the Catholic Church, there's a lot of angels in the Catholic Church, but there's saints, which you don't have in more evangelical and conventional, like Baptist and Lutheran. You don't have saints. But you do in Catholicism. But the saints play a similar kind of role as the deities do in both Hinduism and Buddhism, where there's some form of portal or entryway to get to God. Did you have a question? No, I thought that's my question.
I was going to say something that anybody who might be interested, does anybody watch Gaia or Gaia TV? There's a channel you can get. I just watched a movie and it's about Jesus and Buddha and looking at the similarities and differences, but how we're all really going in the same direction, doing the same thing with different visions. And it was a really good hour and a half.
What channel was it?
It's is it Gaia?
Gaiam.
Gaiam TV.
G-I.
Oh, the Gaia channel?
Yes, yeah. There's
Which
Gaia
means
and
Earth,
Gaia,
it's
but
Gaia means Earth.
and they have all those spiritual movies and things. But it was really interesting for me because I don't know much about religion. But
Well, I think if you look at most of the great masters of the world, you find extraordinary similarities between their energy. There's a really great book to read. I'm going to write it down because I didn't. I want you to have this in mind. If you want to learn about masters from India and really get an inside look at what great gurus or masters are all about from the point of view, I didn't write it down on the sheet, but you can write it down. And it's online, so you don't have to pay for it. You can read it online with free versions of it. Autobiography of the Yogi is a very, very famous book by Paramahansa Yogananda. He himself was one of the highest masters to ever walk the earth. And he was part of a lineage of 4 teachers. The highest being a teacher who, legend has it, stayed in every youthful body for 2,000 years. He could materialize and dematerialize at will wherever he went with a group of followers. His name is Babaji. And he's the highest guru in the lineage, equal to Jesus in this tradition. He called these gurus Yogi Christ of India because their energy was Christ-like. His guru was the guru below Babaji's guru named Lahiri Mahasaya. And you read about him in the book, and these stories just blow your mind, the miracles. Just like reading the New Testament, you're seeing and understanding that what Jesus did was not some thing that people are trying to make up out of the rational mind and there's a scientific explanation for it. It's nonsense. These miracles really occur. And what's great about this book is it allows you to have a modern day view of the life of Christ. Because if these guys can do this in the modern day, why did Jesus not do it in his day? Walk on water, a snap. Yogananda even has a chapter where it explains how miracles occur based on Einstein's equation equals mc squared. It's called the law of miracles. Yogananda himself goes through miracles like you wouldn't believe in this book. The guru below him was Yogananda's guru, Sri Yukteswar, and then Yogananda. But Yogananda writes the book from the point of view of the seeker, not the point of view of the master. And so he's warts and all, he's showing you his whole life, his fears, aspirations. Doesn't get angry very often. Sometimes has fears, sometimes make mistakes, you know, and very humble in sharing. So I would really recommend reading this. It's a mind blower. You know, and
Tree of the Swore appears, his picture appears on the cover of the Sergeant Pepper.
oh yeah, yeah.
Early Arts Club band, so the Beatles were into this stuff too.
Yeah, I know. They were tuned to the tradition. I think some of the other masters might have been.
Yeah, I'm not sure which ones, but there were other ones.
Well, you just was quite distinctive with his
Yeah.
the beard, the white beard, the hair, the flowing mane. Yeah. So I mean, what's nice about the book is you can read one chapter. They're all self-contained. So you can read one chapter and it's really mind blowing, and then you can put it down and you don't have to feel like you got to read it, you know. But once you get sucked into it, it grabs you because the miracles are just off the charts. It's like
What is the purpose of miracles?
what?
What is the purpose of miracles?
The purpose of miracles.
Why do yogis and Christ, why do they manifest miracles?
Well, why limit it to them? Haven't you had miracles in your life? I mean,
Nothing I would deem
there's
a
a book
miracle.
called A Course in Miracles, a very famous book called A Course in Miracles. How many who's familiar with A Course in Miracles? Okay, yes. And this supposedly was channeled by Jesus to a woman, Helen, gotta forget her last
Schuckman.
name. What? Schuckman, that's right, yeah. And a couple of other people. She was the main transcriber. What's amazing about this book is whoever channeled it, whatever energy channeled it, knew she liked Shakespeare, and the whole second half of the book is an iambic pentameter,
Oh, jeez.
which is what Shakespeare wrote his plays in. So if you can imagine a book this thick, it's about 600 pages, it's pretty thick, pretty dense. And the whole second half is an iambic pentameter, you gotta be pretty up there to be able to like transcribe and write in that. But the Course in Miracles says there are no order of miracles. So the synchronicity of running into a friend at a particular moment that is perfect timing is no less a miracle than someone being cured of cancer. You know, it's just in our minds, some miracles are great big miracles and other miracles are little teeny miracles. You know, I would say that for masters, especially as they're presented in the autobiography, miracles aren't done to display anything, they're done as the normal course of things. Because life itself is miraculous and the power of the miraculous is in all of us. So therefore, someone has a car accident and they say that I was surrounded by white light as the car crashed and I walked out unhurt. That's a miracle that's occurring within the course of daily life. That's not dependent on a master coming along and saying, doing what Sai Baba did, which is like, let me bring the ash down and manifest the vibhuti. There was a master named Sai Baba and a guru, and he would like always bring, he would manifest out of thin air this ash. You know, I think someone said, well, how about manifesting like basketball or something?
Well, maybe miracles, the small everyday things and the big things, are to keep us on the path we're supposed to be on. The friends you're supposed to run into, the place you're not supposed to go to when your car won't start. Maybe you're supposed to live longer and not die in that car crash, but they're all somewhat of a bit of guidance.
I agree. I think they're the normal. I think miracles are. I think the nature of reality is miraculous. Therefore, I think miracles generally are part of the course of things once one becomes attuned to the potentiality and possibility of the miraculous. The more one's vibration goes up, the more what we say are miraculous things happen. For instance, I'm really having some trouble with money, and I pray to God, and I say, I need to really lean on you, and the phone rings a minute later, and someone has an $800 job for me. You know, well, that's a miracle. To me, what someone could say that's a miracle. Is it, or is it just the fact that as your vibration raises, you more? So if Jesus was at this level, then everything he did, almost every step was miraculous. You know, put someone ear back on. You know, like walks on the water. Like look at all the miracles everywhere he went. I think one of the reasons Jesus did a lot of miracles in his day was that people had a hard time believing. And therefore, one of the ways to help them believe was to display. My own guru did that a lot. He did what was called a year of demonstrations. He had this stick. And he would put people in all these states of trances and do all this stuff as a way of, it was like people needed to see it. There's this passage in Scripture, I think it says, "Blessed are those who see and believe, more blessed are those who don't see yet believe." You know, I think it's really true that for some of us, we need to see it in order to, question.
Are miracles really miracles? I mean, aren't we all capable of it if we were as, say, spiritual as Jesus was?
I think we're all capable of it now. I think we do miraculous things, but we don't label them as miracles.
But I mean, even I could probably walk on water if I had the right mind.
No, I would agree with you. Not just, no, I agree with you. As a matter of fact, there was this magazine I used to be called Sedona Magazine. It was a channel magazine. There's this one entity in it who used to say, "You need to practice walking on water." They say, you know, he says, when you can do it, you're really advanced. So he actually told people, get out a little tub and like regularly practice well, you know. But you're right. There's a passage in the Bible, and this goes back to this, the remembering versus the forgetting, which goes to the heart of the biblical passage. If he had enough faith to say to the mountain, go into the sea, the mountain would go into the sea. So this is the basic of the Abraham Hicks teachings, the law of attraction. The greater your intent, the greater our intention, the greater the capacity to manifest and produce. And to, yes, I agree with you totally. I think we all have the innate capacity. That's why Jesus said in the Bible, whatever I do, you should do greater. So I think that in reality, the bottom line is that we all have this capacity. However, what's interesting is as our intuition develops, a miracle may take the form that you feel really strongly drawn to call a friend. And you call a friend in this exact moment that they needed that phone call. And why isn't that every bit as much a miracle as walking on water? See, part of all this, part of working with the angels I found and with the guides, is that the more we work with this energy, the more it raises our vibration. The more it raises our vibration, the more it expands our intuition. The more it expands our intuition, the more it enhances our growth and our capacity to see reality as it really is, rather than through conventional human eyes. So what I've learned is, years ago I had a woman say to me, "You're a reader." Now as a mystic, I could connect really well. I never read anybody. She said, "You're a reader." It's about 12, 14 years ago. I said, "No, I'm not." She said, "You're a reader." "No, I'm not." Well, she was a really good psychic, and she knew I was a reader. And now I'm a reader. Well, you know, so what I've noticed is my intuition has grown quite a bit through the years. I can now do things and sense things and feel things and tap into things that I had no way of doing 5 to 10 years ago. But a lot of it had to do with the whole piece of connected to the angelic and spiritual realm. I went to see James von Prague. He was teaching an international mediums course in Omega Institute. I spent a week with him. Everything jumped exponentially from taking the course over a week. And so I used to do, I do a workshop on Connected to Your Guides. It's a form of channel writing. Well, it took a leap after I saw von Prague. Now I can sit down and I can spend some time tapping in and I can get really direct messages. Even when I would write, I would get a flow that was just amazing in terms of how this perspective would come. But now I can go to a place where I can go a step above that and actually get very specific downloads of information if I just take the time to do it. So I agree with you totally that I think that's the point of all this, is to remember. The point of all of this is to remember what is our real connection, what is our relationship to the rest of the universe, who are we really, and what help is available. So you have a question?
What do you mean by you're a reader? You read cards or you read
She was just saying I had the
mind?
capacity to read people.
Oh, okay.
So what I am now is I'm a medium.
Okay.
I can connect with those who crossed over. I always had that ability to some degree. When I first learned Reiki, if I did the absentee symbol, I could connect to people who crossed over. I had some very profound experiences of people who died, and they gave me messages. But I can read people. Sometimes I'll pick up intuitional feelings about situations. My intuition comes in very handy as a coach, because I seem to have an ability. It's strange. It's like you step into yourself in a way that when you're doing it, and it gets really strong. And then you come out of it, so you know. And then there's times when you're in what's called a blended state. You know, so, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna open up to more questions about this, because I'm trying to think what I want to go with this for. Oh, I do want to talk about some very specific experiences I had with this Angelic team that were very pivotal in my life, and they helped to show how powerful angelic communication can be. But I want to see if there are any other questions at the moment.
Did you mention earlier that everybody has a guardian angel or guardian angels?
Well, I think at this point everybody's a team of angels.
So why do bad things happen to people? I mean, someone is in a fire or dies in an accident.
That's a topic for a whole different workshop I do called Soul Contracts and Sacred Agreements. We think that physical life is planned that for everybody gets the picket fence, and the short answer is it's not the way it is. Souls come here for a whole different bunch of reasons. Some of them are, if you have karma that needs to be cleared up, sometimes that's part of a destiny piece that you yourself have put in place. Other times things are very difficult and meant for you to grow from. Sometimes souls, this is going to sound really strange, you can't get abuse anywhere in the cosmos, but here sometimes souls want to experience it. It sounds strange, but it's actually true. Or at least from this theory and point of view, which has been validated by a lot of different things, and sometimes souls will sacrifice themselves for the learning and growth of other souls. So there is an answer to why bad things happen to good people. And once you see, I'm going to give you a book to read if you want to write it down. It's called Journey of Souls. We're going to do a workshop on this.
She just wrote it down for me.
What?
Before you said
You
it.
just wrote it down for me. See? Okay, we just had a miracle. Just had a miracle. Just had a synchronicity right here, see? Just validation for the universe. The angels are right here. Bang! Read that book.
It was what you said.
If you think we're not guided, you know, if you came here, you know why. You were guided to be here. I'm very serious about it, you know, that everybody here is meant to be here. Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. Let me write it down. It explains all this stuff. There's two books, actually. It's a mind blower. He was a hypnotherapist. He had 2,000 clients. Rather than do past life regression, he did life between life regression. And so he shows what the other side's all about, because they all saw the same thing. And then he wrote a second book called Destiny of Souls. It's wild. It's got wild stuff in it. But the first, Journey of Souls, Michael Newton. Like Sir Isaac? Newton. Newton, N-E-W-T-O-N. Like Sir Isaac.
What was the other one? Destiny.
What? Journey of Souls. You can get it on Amazon really cheap. There's still a few left for $5 before you know, because it's a classic. But the other thing is, what's really great about it is he shows the interface between the other side and here. What happens when you die? What's it like over there? What happens when you want to come back? Because there is reincarnation. And what you find is that soul contracts and agreements are the mechanism, or the distributive mechanism of karma. So we are now, it's like a modern Tibetan Book of the Dead. We now understand it's one of the gifts of our civilization, that we're very technological, so we want spirituality, you know, we want a technological view. So we break it down, so like computers are such a great model. So Journey of Souls explains a lot of it. There was one soul, I told this to Mark, there's one soul, she was an intergalactic healer. And she came to Earth and she had 300 incarnations and never once took a healthy body, because she had no interest in a healthy body. The whole idea of coming here to have a good time was not her agenda. She was a healer. She wanted to know about every disease possible. What's the best way, if you want to know about physical disease, to learn about it? Experience it. So she took 300 incarnations and took a different calamity or different infirmity every time. That's what she wanted to know. Time is the universe is eternal. We got all time in infinity. But see, we would never think like that conventionally. What do you mean someone would do that? Don't you want to get married and get life? But that's not what souls want all the time.
Course in Miracles talks a little bit about bad things happening to good people. Actually, quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, but there's a problem with the Course in Miracles. They don't accept reincarnation. You know, it's one of my beefs with the Course in Miracles, which doesn't mean it's not extremely valuable.
Right.
You know, the Course in Miracles likes to be really here and now, so it doesn't want people wandering off up here. I find that there's value once we understand the idea that we are in control of our destinies to a degree that we never fathomed, that we can step out of any of the victim-perpetrator role and start to see all the things that have happened to us as things that are either for our growth or for helping us, even though they might be what we would consider to be bad things. Now, sometimes those bad things are really bad, but the soul comes back. So, but
I didn't realize that they did not.
well, they claim that the body's an illusion, and therefore, this gets a little more esoteric, but I think for the sake of being here, reincarnation is pretty real. This may all be an illusion. I mean, we know from quantum physics, this is 99% emptiness. We're not really here. We are and we're not. This doesn't exist. I mean, this all was once a flaming ball of gas from the sun. We're all literally made of light. Literally made of light. E equals MC squared says we're literally energy made into matter. So the idea that we projected this, and a bee looks at this very differently than we do. So the idea that this is real, it's very, so, but the idea is like Journey of Souls is very, very good. And also there's another one, it's called Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. He took 10 people, Robert Schwartz, S-C-H-W-A-R-T-Z. He took 10 people who had exceptionally challenging lives and used 4 super psychics and mediums to figure out why they took the lives they did. And it's amazing to see what a contract can look for. Like this one guy was a quadriplegic. He'd been running around in a bunch of lifetimes being seduced by glamour. He said, I got to slow myself down. So he decided, I'll become a quadriplegic. That'll stop me. And I can't get into those bad habits, and I'll have to sit and really go deep into myself. From the soul's point of view, because they know that each life is is only like a class in a school, it's no problem. Once we get here, we go, oh my God. But it's what he needed. The old Rolling Stones song, you can't get what you want, but if you try sometime. What you need. So, excuse me. Does that answer your question, or at least touch the subject?
How do people who are scared of dying, do they sometimes want to learn more about reincarnation? Like, hey, this is only temporary, I'll be back.
I think there's so many different people, each person's different. I mean, if someone's an atheist and they're scared of dying, they wouldn't want to be anywhere near any of this stuff. And a lot of people who are very conventional would say, well, this is all a bunch of gobbledygook. Some of you in here might think this is gobbledygook, It's your business to figure out if this makes sense or not, if you want to explore it. I want to share a few of my experiences, and maybe people have to share some of their experiences with spirit, but I'm going to particularly deal with these angels, because a friend of mine was a channel for them, and she was extremely gifted. And I worked with her, about 8 or 9 years. She used to have gatherings at her house, and she worked primarily with this angelic team. And when I go into a meditation with these guys, I feel it, and I feel the differences. And see, I'm clairsentient, so I feel Gabriel feels different than Raphael, that feels different than Sarah, that feels different. They feel different. There's a different energy, just like this whole thing here. There's a different frequency. It's like you're tuning on a radio to a frequency. They all carry slightly subtle modulations, just as the masters do. So it's very, very interesting. So a couple of my really powerful experiences were a long time, I did the dream workshop. Well, I was really into dreams a long time ago, and I started getting into that, and she was channeling, and the angel said to me, we're going to stop your work with dreams for a while. Huh?
No.
And they said, we envision your storytelling skills or presenting skills as being like spokes on a wheel. And you have many different gifts to offer. And if you only focus on this one, so we're going to hold this one back. And about 6 months later, I had a woman, I'd done a medium reading session with the director of a camp, because I went to a folk song society up in the Poconos gathering, musical. And she talked to a friend of hers, and she said, I want a spiritual coaching session. I said, I've never done that. She said, I want you to come and do that. So she came up to my house. I said, well, try it. Well, I was really good at it. I mean, I helped clear away a bunch of stuff, helped clear away misconceptions, a lot of fears, helped her get centered ground. She went home. She was ecstatic. Sent me a check for $80, which is really good. And so, and actually, she, but, all of a sudden, this was part of what they said they wanted to do. And this is part of what happened, and this is one of the manifestations of it. was they wanted other things in me to open up, and they explicitly told me. Then it happened. And that's really cool stuff, cool bean stuff when that happens. And what's interesting is in the time we live, it's available to everybody in a way that's not been available to humanity for a long time. I have to give props to the transcendentalist movement of the middle 1800s, because I think they were into a lot of this stuff. I mean, Abraham Lincoln used to have seances at the White House. And no one thought 2 seconds of it. Imagine trying to do that today. Imagine a lot of people
It's not
get,
any crazier than what's happening today.
a lot of people go really nuts. If but in Abraham Lincoln's day, there was a lot of this energy moving as well, as along in the 20s with Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophists. So I do want to emphasize that one of the reasons I'm sharing this, and it's happening through me, for you, is to have everybody get an opportunity to spark this and to open this door. Because once you start moving through this door more strongly, with more intention, then more things start to come. And what will come is what you need, in terms of whatever tools, energies, frequencies that are around that are really important. Meditation, scriptures, whatever you need will come to you. That's why in the Bible it says, "Ask and it is given, knock and you shall what you should receive." So there were a few other things. One was, I was really having struggles financially. I have to remember this. And so she was channeling Angel Gabriel came forward. Gabriel does with direction and trust. And so I said to Angel Gabriel, I have to cross a river financially, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know where the rocks are. I don't know where to put my feet. And Angel Gabriel said these specific words. He said, the rocks will appear when you need them. And I have found since that time, every time I've needed something to emerge, something has emerged. Every single time, something has emerged. That what he said was incredibly prescient. And that stayed with me all the time. A friend of mine was having a terrible experience with her ex-husband because he had been molesting their young daughter. And so I did a reading. I asked my friend for the angels to give a reading. And they said, the child's contract, the child has to fulfill, this goes to your question, the child has to fulfill its contract. There's nothing the mother can do to prevent the contract. This is after most of the abuse had happened, but was still going on. There's nothing the mother can do. They said, as a river washes up, overflows, and washes up on shore and wipes out everything that is there. And once the river recedes, the mother's job will have to be there and to clean up afterwards, to restore and be there for the child. But they said this is nothing that can be prevented, because it's the child's contract and the child needs to fulfill its contract. But then they said, however, we must stipulate it is not easy having to endure an atrocity. They're acknowledging both the divine reason for what was happening, but acknowledging the human point of view that just because there are these contracts doesn't mean we don't feel deeply the wounding, the hurting, the pain of others, and the death of others. We may know that others don't really die, but when you lose somebody close, you lose somebody close. Loss is real in the human experience. So we don't want to be cavalier about the wrenching pain that can happen to lose a child, to lose a loved one, because it's like losing your arm. I'll get another life. No, it's not. For the purposes of this life, it's a profound experience. When we lose someone, or a tragedy happens, or we have an illness, or all these things that happen on earth that are difficult. So the angels were mindful of that. And I really appreciate the fact that they were mindful of it, while at the same time giving the larger perspective. And I have said it to my friend many times, as her relationship with daughter has gotten better over the years, as the father has receded from the point of view, and their relationship has maintained itself, that basically I keep reminding her, look how things have improved. Look how things improved. But look where you were 10 years ago. So, that was very important. to see. I'm trying to think, if those are some of the main ones. I mean, I've had so many of them. I think, for me today, the difference between 20 years ago and today, as at the time for me, and many people who are in the same kind of ballpark or groups that I am, this was a really big deal. Oh my God, angels. You know, like we all have this accessibility to angels. Like I can't believe it. I had this experience, I had that experience, I had this experience, I did. Now it's like second nature. So if we go to meditation and Metatron shows up, where someone advertises that Metatron's going to lead, no, people actually do this. They're very powerful spiritual leaders, and they'll say, we're going to have an Archangel Metatron come tonight, donation or whatever. Sometimes they'll say $20 or whatever it is, and and Metatron will be the one, you can feel the energy. Or they'll say Gabriel. A lot of times Gabriel and Mary will hook up together from Mary, Jesus' mother. Or sometimes Magdalene is, it's like they would be known as ascended masters on the other side. Yeah.
How do you know which one is which? If
What?
you don't- How do you know which angel is which? Do they?
By
If
frequency.
you don't hear it.
By frequency.
Oh.
Generally, as you do this stuff, it's like her energy for you as a friend is different than someone else's energy as a friend. So if you have sight, so you see her form. But usually as we develop along these lines and get more into it, it's like walking into water. And as you get deeper into the water becomes more familiar. Or let's say you go to another country, if you're there a while, the country gets familiar. This territory becomes very familiar. And you start to feel the differences and distinctions between Archangel Michael's energy versus Jesus' energy versus this one's energy versus that one's energy. Okay, I'm going to go a little far out here. Excuse me. Okay. One of the things that a lot of people that I know are doing is working with ET consciousnesses. Arcturians, these are benevolent, really wonderful. It's really incredible, the energy, if you do a meditation with the Arcturians, the Syrians, or the Pleiadians. There's something incredibly special about, I could say, maybe it's all made up in our minds. I don't think it's made up in our minds. Maybe it's not really the Arcturians or whatever, but all I know is there's an energy in the room where the love is profound, the energy is healing, it's off the charts.
Are those religious references? I don't know those
What?
three
No,
things.
they're off-world. There are other civilizations and other planets.
Okay, got it.
The Arcturians, the Syrians from the whole, the star Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. The ancient alien theory, there's something about humanity, I don't want to get too much
Well,
of
there's
this.
shows of this stuff. I see the titles and I'm thinking, what's that about? So
Well,
maybe
there
that's
is
just-
one thing I believe in the potential of ancient alien theory. No one can explain scientifically the cognitive leap that produced Homo sapiens. Scientists have not been able to figure out the leap in brain growth between the time when other hominids and Neanderthals and stuff were around who did not have the kind of, and all of a sudden out of nowhere comes this frontal cortex. Now maybe they'll figure it out, but they have no idea. This leap happened in a very, very, very short period of time in terms of evolutionary. We're talking about within 5,000 years. This leap happened. And they can't explain it. And most spiritual people say that we were aided by the Syrians, the Pleiadians, and the Arcturians that contributed DNA from other civilizations to allow humanity to springboard into a whole new, because we then went out and took over the world in about 50,000 years, which is like, they took the dinosaurs like millions and if you see how our genetics went around, it's like pretty amazing how quickly we just adapted and dealt with and also it's interesting, if you look at the cave paintings from 50,000 years ago, Picasso used them, he was so impressed by them, he said they were some of the greatest artists in human history. How did humanity know that 50,000 years ago to make such incredible representations? It's unbelievable. The art, at the very, very dawn of humanity. It's like, Nova, the PBS thing on civilizations, and art, the beginnings of art, it blows your mind what we are and how we're constructed. So, that's one of the few areas where I really believe. I think humans are pretty ingenious and didn't need the aliens to build the pyramids, but that's my take.
All the references you used are star names?
What?
All of the references you just said are star names?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arcturus, the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Native American legends about the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades. A lot of ancient cultures made up stories and myths as to why. Sirius is the dog star. It's the dog that follows Orion, the hunter. And Orion was the lover of Artemis, the goddess of the moon, and the sister to Apollo. And I think Apollo got jealous and tricked her into killing him. So she put him in the sky. That's the one with the belt. You know, it's the biggest winter constellation is Orion, and the brightest star in the sky is Sirius. It's the third brightest object in the sky behind the sun, the fourth, sun, moon, Venus, Sirius.
It should be up there right now.
What? Yeah,
It should be up there right now.
Yeah, it'll be out there, you know. And also, this is really interesting. Good, on this just for a second. Which fits in with all this stuff, because this is all interconnected. That's really important. It's all interconnected. Starlight, each star has a healing property for human beings. It's light. Years ago, I was with a guy who used a telescope. There was a book written called Starlight Elixirs. There's a website called Pegasus Products with elixirs. Pegasus, of course, was the winged horse in the story of Perseus that sprang from the blood of Medusa when the Medusa was slain. They have star elixirs. They're incredible. And what you do is they found a way, using a telescope or something, to take the light from particular stars and put it into an elixir so that the vibrational frequency of that starlight carries different properties for human beings. You go on their website, there's about 100 different star elixirs that all carry different healing properties. And they're quite amazing. Now, a friend of mine, years ago, did this with crystals. And he took the telescope and he put the light into a crystal. It lasted 3 years. He had 2 crystals. One you'd work with, you'd rinse it off, put it with the grounding crystal that would recharge it. And it was incredible. You sit with these crystals and you could feel. And each one of them, the frequency was different. You could feel something different. So this is, you know, the idea that what's going on in this universe, and we know what's going on, we have no idea. The idea that stars carry healing frequencies. So if you go up and look at Sirius, you'll literally take in through your optic nerve the healing frequency of the star. Sirius is a profoundly healing star for human beings. Just go up and gaze at it for about 10 minutes and see if you feel different. You know, it'll be tagging along. Orion will be over here and Sirius will be on the left. And it'll be the brightest star, it'll be a little square, and the big bright star at the top will be Sirius. And it'll be blazing, and you know, you can just look at it and you can take in its healing properties. So, let me see. I want to do a meditation. Do you have other questions or comments? I want to hear some of before we go, I want to hear some of your experiences with either unseen energies or miraculous or some connection.
I don't really have, I have more of a question. A lot of times I have things that happen in threes, and they say there are no coincidences, and all these coincidences happen, usually in threes. But the thing is that's frustrating to me is that I have no idea like what's the point, like if there is a point to these things.
Maybe if there's a need to get your attention. Who has seen the TV show Manifest?
I have.
Okay, Manifest is about a group of people on a plane. They go through this incredible turbulence, and all of a sudden, when they come back, it's 5 years later, and no one can figure out why. And each of these people are getting callings from something that they don't know. And these callings seem to have an intelligence beyond that knows exactly where to go, who to go, what to do. There's some purpose behind all of this. The Manifest is a reinvention of a show that was done many years ago called the 4400 that you might want to take a look at. That's in the library system. It's about a group of people that were all taken off the earth at various time periods, and they all come back at one time in a lake, and all of a sudden this ball of light, and they're all standing there, and they all have these amazing spiritual gifts. It's all a metaphor for what's happening to us and to humanity right now. It's a metaphor for the idea that there are a group of humans. The TV seems to be playing a lot with superheroes, superpowers. I'm not so much into the Marvel and all those big Marvel freaks when I was young. But shows like Manifest are intriguing to me because I think they're metaphors for the very thing you're talking about awakening to higher power. And the reality of what is the technology of higher power. And the angels in the angelic realm and the spirit realm are parts of the technology. So therefore what's happening is the worlds are coming together. The veil between the worlds is lessening. There's an invitation from the unseen to come from God, to come closer. The angels are God's hands. That God works through us, works through each other. God works through people. God also works through the angels, through spirit guides, through masters. And so when you're having, they're not coincidences, I would use the word, they're synchronicities. There was a book many years ago called The Celestine Prophecy. And he said there were 9 principles. And the first was beginning to understand that there are meaningful coincidences and to follow them. So one of the reasons may just be to get your attention. Wait a minute, something's going on here that's not like, it's not random. There's something really patterned going on here. Let me take another step into that. Does that make sense? This is as good an explanation as any. I don't know. You know, we all have that. I mean, usually most of us will, if we start paying attention, and we start connecting more, we'll start noticing more of these synchronicities. A license plate, a song on the radio, a call from a friend, you know, running into someone at a particular place. Then it gets bigger, you know, swerving at the last minute because something happened to miss the accident. This, that, the other. You know, you start to get bigger. And the potential of them gets really big. The greatest miracle I ever had through prayer, which brings forth, this goes back to the intention of connecting, is I was in a class for a master's degree on a research class, and I did not have a research tool to do an experiment. And the teacher said to me, when are you going to get going? You don't have that much time left. And I said, I don't know, so we looked through all the, we could not find one. So I sat down one night and prayed for an hour. And I wouldn't stop until I felt complete. I kept saying over and over again, God, I'm your child. I want to do something good. I don't have a research tool. You're going to have to deliver me a research tool. At the end, I started to feel this electric current that moved through me for 10 minutes straight. And I just kept praying and praying and praying and praying until finally it was done. And I'd used every fiber of my being to get that prayer through. A day after that, a woman called me and said, a friend of mine, you had put an ad in Philadelphia magazines back in the days we used to do those things. You know, we didn't Match.com, all this stuff, there's no computer, the internet. You know, a friend of mine had liked your ad, but she found another guy, so she gave me your name. So I said, let's get together. We went to Morris Arboretum. I'm telling her my problem. She says, you never heard of the Resource Center at Temple University? What is this? No, I never heard of it. She says, you should go to the Resource Center. So I rushed to, you need to, you teacher. So I get the permission from the teacher. I rush down there, I tell them my problem. Bring in a box. This is all we got. Take a look. Very bottom, last one. School attitude survey. Fit my project hand to glove. I could copy it in 20 minutes. And it was the most unbelievable thing. I mean, fit my project like there was no space. It was perfect. The abstract for my paper was going to be that children seemed to be getting along better with their teachers and peers by doing a meditation class. I was going to measure a meditation class in Montessori school and one that didn't, but I didn't know how to measure it. And in the school attitude survey, the second question was, how do I relate to my peers? I mean, it was like, this is the greatest miracle of my life. And it taught me what Yogananda taught me with the Body for Yogi. Great prayers bring great results. Weak prayers bring weak results. The stronger our intention, that's what Jesus said in the Bible. If he had the faith to say to the mountain, go into the sea, the mountain would have, this goes back to what you said, we have the capacity by our intention. So the angels want us to have the intention to connect with them. I want to read just a couple slight channel pieces and one piece from this book, then we might do a meditation if we don't have any questions. I just want you to get a feeling for angelic energy at its heart. And I always love something, you know, these are channel messages. Take them for what you will, but they are very beautiful. Angel Celestina, she's the one that deals with the throat, about bringing your gift to the world. Okay? Let's see where it is. Okay, here we go. To help you understand how creative you are, start by considering your body, the physical vessel that your soul utilizes in this lifetime. It is a living creation started from two cells joined together and exploding in rapid and precisely directed creative expansion into this physical being that you are. You are a creation that's magnificent and is beyond your scientific understanding. If this alone is not enough to convince you of your creative magnificence, consider the sensory system that you have. Consider your ability to feel, smell, hear, and taste. Angels do not have these miraculous means of perception. Consider, in other words, they can't have an ice cream cone. Angels do not. Consider also the fact that you are blessed with the creative power of your soul moving through your sensory system to give you emotions. Emotions that can bring you to heights of bliss and joy and make you laugh until your body hurts. Emotions that can also make you cry with grief or make you afraid to the point that you feel chatter. All of these are extraordinary creative expressions, works of art like colors on a canvas, constantly in motion. Each of you is part of the divine plan. And each of you is here to play a wonderful role in bringing about this plan. Each of you is in the world to give your gift, not, as the one who was speaking earlier said, for those who will receive it, but rather for those who cannot live without it. That's a very powerful statement. Our gifts to the world are not just for people who can receive them, but for those who cannot live without it. That's an incredible statement. Offering your creative gift is not something that is simply a luxury to you. It is mandatory. It is no different than the bee that must offer its creative gift called pollination. For without it, the strain of flowers will not continue. Without your human gifts of creativity, the evolution of humanity and your world will stop. It is that simple. That's a very, very profound statement about how important each and every person, each and every being in this world truly is. Now, Sarah is beautiful. She's the one of manifestation and bringing things and connecting to our power. If you were to call upon us, let's use the word us rather than me. If you were to call upon us, invite our presence into your life, and release all fear, your life would accelerate forward with such quickness that it would make you dizzy. It would feel almost too good to be true. Our task is to break every wall that seems to hold you back, to open every door that you need opened, to link you with your soul that you need to, every soul you need to find, and even to bring people into your life to give you the strength and courage to believe in yourself. Please note that as we hold the door open, the threshold of life's doorway contains a fear that you are to heal and master by your forward movement. You must cross the threshold of your own fear under your own power. We will stand before you and entice you. We will also stand behind you and support you. But only you can stand face to face with your own fear and conquer it. Only you can break the hold that illusion of fear has on you. The very moment, the split second that you release your fear, will whisk you forward through a myriad of connections, opportunities, and synchronistic experiences that will accelerate your life journey. Please know that we would never open a door for you that you are not capable of passing through. Know also that as soon as you pass through one door, we will open another, and another, and another. For we can see the destiny of your journey, while all you can see is the door that is in front of you. Our patience with you is infinite. And if you spend your entire lifetime trying to get through a single door, it would be our joy to support you in doing just that. That is unconditional love. I want to read something from here. This book was channeled also by an angel that was connected to one of the guys from this book. Your scientists say there are 4 forces that are responsible for the existence of the universe as you know it. They call them gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force, and the weak force. We angels also say that there are 4 forces responsible for our universe. We call them love, joy, ecstasy, and bliss. Your scientists are struggling to find a unification theory that will bring together all 4 forces into one single primal force. We angels are not struggling to find this unity of forces, for we know it, and we live it, and we call it God. Your prophets and priests have often said that God is love. But God is not just love. God is beyond all attributes. God is the source of love and joy and ecstasy and bliss. All of them are interdependent, emergent from God, responsible for the universe as you know it. Four forces, one source, all of them present, and all of us participating in them, angels, humans, and all life in this universe. Love is what keeps your moon in orbit around you. Love is what keeps you circling around your sun. Love is food for the soul. Love is what heals. And love is not all there is. Joy is a current that races through the world. Joy is what eliminates the sun. Joy is the force that allows for transformation. Joy is what blesses. Joy is your future self. Put love and joy together and everything is possible that you dream of. Put love and joy together and they spiral you inward and outward to realms of ecstasy and bliss. Ecstasy is what takes everything beyond itself so that it can see itself. Ecstasy is what mirrors the universe back to itself. Put love and joy and ecstasy together and you can dance with angels. Bliss is nestled in the heart of everything that exists. Bliss is the secret identity of reality. It was a drop of bliss that gave birth to everything else. That precious drop comes from the sea of bliss that the universe shimmers in. Put love, joy, ecstasy, and bliss together in your heart, and you are all that the universe is in seed form. When you are everything the universe is in seed form, and all of your dreams will come to fruition. Now that's pretty wise stuff, and pretty high level, and most people don't write like that. So to me there's something about this channeling stuff. Rumi, the great poet, once said, you think of yourself as a drop in the ocean, but in reality you are the ocean contained in the mighty ocean contained in a single drop. Very interesting. Are there any more questions? I think we'll end with a meditation.
For angels,
I'm going to do an angelic meditation. What?
is an angel necessarily been a human?
My understanding is no. And that's a misperception that angels have been human.
What was the question?
What?
What was the question?
Have angels been human?
Oh.
Spirit guides have. But angels, my understanding is no. This divide is pretty strong. If you got created over here, you're always an angel. You didn't take human form. If you're over here, you're down in the trenches. And you can become a master, but you'll never be an angel. They're different. That's my understanding. I know there was a movie, there's been some movies where angels come down and become human, but it's human fancy. Now, I'm saying what I know, what I've learned. I think the last thing I'd like to transmit before we do meditation is, it's all about forgetting and remembering. It's like, I'm glad I did this thing because it helps me remember. It's like I need to be brought back to my sanity of who I really am. Angelic love is incredibly, it's completely always forgiving and always present. Because angelic love embodies and carries with it the love of God. So, not only in ourselves, but we don't remember most of the time, but the angels do, it's really God reaching out to us. It's just a step down. It's a way, in other words, the complete unmanifest, and humans have had this problem for thousands of years. They recognized that what God was beyond comprehension. The Native Americans called God the totality, great mystery. The great mystery is unknowable. So how do you know? How does this? So in Christianity, the idea of logos, or the idea of logos, or the idea of intermediary, and it's been in many cultures. The idea of intermediary comes up. So these great teachers contain this energy and they become the intermediary. So Jesus is considered to be one of those people. In Christianity, Jesus is considered exclusively to be that. Other religions say we got some of ours too. angels are, it's easy to relate to God sometimes in this form, because it feels more immediate and not, you know, I do know in some Christian circles the idea is, I don't want to deal with all this, I just want to deal with God, that's what we're talking. That's fine. There are no rules here. And every door that we want to open up, we want to open up directly to the Father, or what we call the Father, or Father, Mother, or Holy Spirit, whatever. Do that. Because we can do that. It usually, in my opinion, will come as a step, some form of a step down, what Native Americans would call Great Spirit. With those out of Great Mystery comes Great Spirit. Great Spirit can be known. Great Mystery cannot. So the angels can be known. I do believe that God can be known, but not in the totality. No one can comprehend the totality. It's beyond human. There's a great master, Ramakrishna, and he took his Kundalini up each chakra. Finally came to the seventh, he went like this. We have a picture of him like this. He said, what was it like? He said, I don't know, I wasn't there. In other words, he had merged completely into it, and therefore the individual identity had gone. There was no, the last veil of observer and observed had gone. Therefore, he said, I can't tell you what it was. My own guru used to say, the only way you'll know you've been there is the torrential bliss that you'll feel when you come back. We're all far away from that. So maybe not, I don't know. Maybe we got some people who are ready to step right into this. And you have a question?
Would you say the angels are in another dimension, and a dimension that would at one time could be in the same room?
They say that the other side is 3 feet off the ground right here parallel with us right now. We think people have gone somewhere 1,000 miles away and heaven's way, it's not, and they say it's not. It's an interdimensional frequency. So I would agree with you to some degree. I think the angelic realm is, I think these realms overlap. And I think that the angelic realm is a much finer frequency, so we don't, you have to, it's like tuning in, it's like AM and FM. If you only have an AM radio and someone comes in and says, boy, you listen to FM, it's really great. What are you talking about? That doesn't exist. But wait a minute, I'm listening to it. So like we have to drop our transmitters to get into FM. So I think in actuality the angels are, I also don't think that the angels are bound by locality. It's this back here, the issue of like an energy band. So I think the idea of locality I think is a human invention, which means here and there. So someone will say, I see an angel standing beside you. But that's an illusion. In reality, God is everywhere. There's C.S. Lewis wrote a great book called Paralandra. He wrote a science fiction series. Started with Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra, that gave his strength. Paralandra is an amazing book about Venus and feeling like being at the Garden of Eden. But there's a statement at the end of the book that's really great. The center is everywhere at once. There's no place the center is not. This means that in reality, that's why each and every one of us can access the totality of what we need at any particular moment, because the center is actually, we are the center, we just forgot. But the way we exist in form, we will get that piece of what we need at any particular moment. The universe is exquisite in that way. Whatever we pray for and need in terms of God knowledge, guidance, wisdom, support, that will come in the particular form we need it. And so therefore, it's like the center's everywhere. You don't have to travel to Mecca. There's a great, great, great poet, Kabir. And Kabir used to write poems all the time laughing at people. Why are you running this city? Why do you think you have to bathe in sacred water? Why do you have to wear the clothes? That's all nonsense. What you need is right within you. It's right inside all the time. You know, so it's great to go to sacred spots. They boost your energy, but we're living in one. This whole Philadelphia area is one of the most powerful spiritual vortexes in the whole country. That's why we're having this talk right here, right now, and why 25 people came out on a really cold night. It's not an accident. There's a powerful spiritual vortex around Philadelphia, but the country was born here. That means something. It was channeled to me through a friend of mine. She takes messages. There are 4 powerful vortexes in America, and this is one of them. So this is as powerful as like going to Jerusalem. I'm quite making it.
What are the other 3?
What?
What are the other 3?
Sedona, the Southwest, Northwest, Midwest, up near Minnesota. I said, well, Vermont's really spiritual. She said, yes, it is, but it's not powerful as Philadelphia. So,
Have you ever seen,
You need to
Okay.
wrap up.
Oh, that's right.
have you ever seen an aura?
Yeah, I feel them, I don't see them. I can feel like it's something, your aura feels really clean to me. But I know people see them. And then you know there's photography. I forgot. I lost track. Okay, we're gonna do a quick meditation. I've got to ask you, out of all these angels, which one do you think you want to work with? Does anybody have a card? Where I can pull a card. I've got these 9 angels, and we're going to work with one of them quickly before we go. Okay? So we'll do a real strong 5 to 7 minute meditation. We'll do that. But, so, does everybody feel drawn to a particular one? What?
I feel drawn to Sarah.
Sarah? Okay. Sarah's manifestation? Sarah's about reclaiming your power. So that's a good one. Okay. So, I haven't done this in a while. So, what I want everybody to do is put your hands in your lap like this. And breathe in. Close your eyes. Breathe in again. I want everyone to imagine that in your heart is a beautiful golden light. Feel the warmth of that golden light. It completely surrounds your heart and is luminous like the sun. It doesn't cause any harm. Imagine a golden cord emanating out of this golden light, going up through your throat, through the center of your head, and out the top of your head, in the center, and up. Up, 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 and up. This golden cord is going to connect with the heart of Angel Sarah. I'm going to do this invocation while we connect and link to the heart of Angel Sarah. Angel Sarah, please accept my heart-like invitation and join your energy with mine. Help me to claim my power, dare to claim my power, and move forward into my joy. Please push me, guide me, and compel me to take the actions that I fear taking. Please open the doorways to my destiny as you bring me all the people, places, settings, and situations I need for me to shine in my life. Feel that link with Angel Sarah, the angel of personal power and of manifestation, helping us reclaim that power. And then feel Sarah's energy slowly coming down like a gentle rain upon us from that link. Feel Angel Sarah's energy slowly embracing our energy field. This is the angel that wants us to heal victimization. This is the angel who's primarily, her energy is to help us thrive, to feel stronger. Her energy supports the adrenals, the stomach, and the whole area of the third chakra. Breathe in the energy of Angel Sarah as that energy rains down upon us. You can breathe it in. She is able to reach everybody in this room, as if you were working with her individually. Her ability is great. Breathe in the peace. Breathe in the support. Breathe in the love. Breathe in the energy of Angel Sarah. As all the angels are, she is here to help. But in order to get help, we must ask. One of the rules from the angels generally is they can't really come in full power unless we ask. When we ask, it is given. The truth of all of this is for us to find out through experimentation and experience. If it is true, then it will be fulfilled by doing. You have the sheet. You can go on the website. You can go in the YouTube videos. When we have the intention to connect, connection happens. This intention is one of the greatest gifts human beings have been given. The stronger the intention, the more powerful the result. And the proof is in the pudding. Breathe in again. Feel the peace, the love, the joy, the support. All throughout our energy fields. Sarah feels blessed to be able to support us tonight. All the angels are happy that everyone came. They want to be of assistance. And as someone said earlier, the more people who tune into this frequency, the better this world becomes. And the more we can transform human behavior, transform the earth. One last deep breath. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Open your eyes when you're ready. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Mark for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.